Good morning and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Friday the 28th of October. My name is Rachel Parker and I am an Anglican priest in the Diocese of Edmonton in the Anglican Church of Canada. And my diocese takes up about 1/4 of the province of Alberta in the middle swath of the province. I am the Anglican priest or the rector for Dayspring Ministries, which is comprised of St. Mary's in Edgerton, St. Saviour's in Vermilion, and St. Thomas in Wainwright. And I am also the Archdeacon for Rural Ministries in our diocese. I'm glad to have you with me today. Oh, in case I forgot, my pronouns are her and she and her. I'm glad to have you with me today. I'm going to talk about Halloween, and the reason I'm not waiting until Monday to talk about Halloween is because I think this is something that we need to think about before we get to the day. So the question was asked, came up about what do we do as Christians for Halloween? So a lovely woman that we know, my husband and I know, she's a waitress in a place, a little diner that we go to for breakfast sometimes, asked me, okay, so what do we think as Christians? Is it okay to do Halloween? Like kids getting dressed up and decorating for things and things like that. Because somebody that she knew had asked her to question it and said, you shouldn't do that. It's not right. It's not Christian. And I also recently saw, a post on Facebook where somebody had written a handwritten note in their door that essentially said, if you're coming here looking dressed up like you're dressed up in a costume looking for candy, what you're doing is evil and it's heretical and all that. It was awful. It was a note that I would never want my child to read, and hope to God they weren't able to even be old enough to read some of the words, because this was a Christian household that refused to deal in demons and ghouls, etc. And so it's been on my mind recently about this idea of what do we do as Christians with Halloween? Well, I'm going to be quite frank. As Christians, what we do for Halloween is we go out and we buy candy or chips and things like that, and we make sure that they haven't been tampered with, that we buy them from the store sealed in a box or in a bag, and that nobody gets to tamper with them when they're in our homes. And we maybe dress up ourselves, or we get bundled up in warm clothes and we sit outside or open the door when kids come to the door. And when they say trick or treat, we say, would you like some candy? And we say, oh my heavens, I really love your costume. Are you a Ninja Turtle? Are you a little princess? Are you a ghost or a goblin? And we tell them how incredible their costumes are. And we send them on their way with a little token of our appreciation that they would share their Halloween night with us. And if maybe some of those older kids come and their costumes simply a bit of makeup and some ponytails and pom-poms, or a football jersey or hockey jersey or a hockey mask or something, we don't get grumpy because the teenagers are out doing this. We're happy because the teenagers are out going door to door, ringing on doorbells, sticking around, being polite and saying trick or treat. They're not out TPing our houses and our cars and our trees. They're not out at some party where instead of collecting eating Skittles and Mars bars for Halloween, that they're reaching into a bowl of different medicines and having a pill party. They're not out doing things nefariously in the dark of the night. They're going door to door and doing something that kids do. And what would be wrong with that? I get it, sort of, that some people are really about Halloween and what it means, and it's a pagan tradition. And I'm honest, I did not do the research before I created this video about the history of Halloween and where it came from and things like that. I know that within the church we celebrate All Saints' Day on the 1st of November. And that is a day on which we celebrate all those saints who have died, all those people that we don't pray to as Anglicans, but we ask them to pray for us because they are saints in heaven. They are people who have died and are now in the presence of God, and we believe they pray, that they intercede for us. And so we celebrate that big time in the church. As a matter of fact, in my church, we're going to celebrate the Feast of All Saints on Sunday because we won't be gathering on Tuesday. And liturgically maybe not so, people think we should wait till the following Sunday for All Saints, but in my churches we also acknowledge Remembrance Sunday, which should indeed happen before Remembrance Day, not after Remembrance Day. So in my church we're celebrating All Saints on October 30th and Remembrance Sunday on November 6th. And just the way I roll. But so for All Saints, we remember those things. And on the 2nd of November, then we have All Souls, in which we remember all those people who have died in the past year. Those people we remember but see no longer. And we recognize that they are resting in peace with God. So for me, Halloween, and it's not about pagan ritual. For me, it really is an opportunity for us to gather as a community, to celebrate. Because really, how many of us live in communities where we encourage our kids to be outside after dark anymore? When I was a little girl, the deal was that we could play anywhere until the streetlights came on. And then we had maybe 5 or 6 minutes before moms, it wouldn't necessarily be our mom, but moms would be outside calling for kids and we'd all have to come home. Nobody worried. We might not even come home for supper. We might leave in the morning and not come home until 5 o'clock at night. And our parents didn't worry about where we might be because we were, down at the river. They weren't worried that we're going to fall in the ditch and drown. They were more worried we'd fall in the ditch and be covered in gunk. Like, we played and we were out in the world and we did fun things, and people didn't panic that some nefarious character was going to come and snatch us up or do awful, horrible, evil things to us. Nowadays, our kids don't feel comfortable. We don't feel comfortable letting our kids play outside in the streets. Certainly not after dark and things like that. And that's a good thing. We don't live in a world right now that maybe that's conducive. Maybe some people do. Certainly, some communities maybe, but for the most part, we're very careful. And that's a good thing. But on one night of the year, one simple night of the year, we encourage fantasy. We encourage people to use their imaginations. We encourage people to have fun and to let the barriers down and to recognize that, even though old Mr. McGillicuddy lives in that house that everybody thinks is haunted, we can still go to his door because old Mr. McGillicuddy isn't really a curmudgeon. He's just an old man who lives by himself, and he gives the best candy on Halloween. And, it's kind of cool to go up his creaky steps and hear the creaky door open and have the old man all hunched over with his cane giving us the candy in our jack-o'-lanterns or our pillowcases or our big bags, reusable bags from Walmart. Halloween is an opportunity for communities to be community, as far as I'm concerned. Many of you have been following me know that my husband has been sick, and one of the things that we have been talking about is that I have a Monday evening Bible study from 5:30 to 6, or a book study from 5:30 to 6:30 in Edgerton, about 20 minutes from where we live. And I wasn't thinking I'd be able to be home when the kids would start coming to our house to deliver or to trick or treat. And he has a little trouble with the stairs. He tires out easily. So our thinking was we're going to invite another Padre friend of his over who lives across the street, have him bring his candy over to our house, and they could set up some lawn chairs at the bottom of the stairs, and then the kids could come up and Rob could participate. Got a little aside here. Rob is that guy. So he is that guy who loves Halloween. We're both priests, so he has a black cassock. It's a long fitted thing that comes down to our sleeve, down to our wrists, and goes all the way from our necks to our feet with 39 buttons up the front, and it's black. And we also have these black copes. They're like capes called funeral copes, and they cover us up for when we go to do a funeral outside. We're freezing. They're very heavy and they're black, and they have a big thing across the front that holds them together. And he also has the Darth Vader hat, and he has a lightsaber. So he's the kind of guy who stands there and holds a lightsaber and waits till the kids come and he swings it around. He loves it. So our plan was that he would sit and he would give out candy, cheesies. We're giving out cheesies for Halloween. And that was as much for him to be able to celebrate and live life as it is for all the kids that might come. I mean, that's what we do. And fortunately for me, my folks in my Bible study, my book study, have said, the kids start coming at 4:30, so can we just cancel this one? And so we can all do Halloween. So it means I get to be home too, to give out candy and cheesies for Halloween and see all the kids dressed up in goo and gaw all over their amazing costumes. I remember one year we were at CFB Borden, and two of the kids came to the door. They were maybe 3 and 4 years old. The little girl was dressed up as a princess, and her dress was better than anything you could ever have bought in a bridal salon. It was incredible. She even had the long pointed hat with the veil hanging down, and her brother was dressed up as a little general with the whole military uniform and everything. Turns out their dad was a material tech in Rob's in electrical mechanical engineering group, the EMEs, and he had hand sewn both of their costumes. So you see, the costumes aren't just about the kids dressing up and having fun, but it's about the parents getting involved as well, and enjoying it and having that moment when we lay aside everything else. We go out, we spend a little bit of money on candy. This year it's a lot of money on candy, but we spend a little bit of money, and then we go out, we take our kids going door to door where people and adults who you maybe never speak to for another 365 days, but we chat because we stand on the sidewalk and watch our kids walk up, and even the shy little kids are able to come out of their shells to say trick or treat and thank you, and they're so awesome. That's what Halloween is all about. It's not about ghouls and goblins and evil and this is heretical and this is anti-Christian. It is so Christian. We are sharing. We are sharing gifts that we have that we can share with others. We are sharing goodwill as we celebrate with these little children who are coming into our spheres of influence and allowing us to interact with them. And we are sharing community. So as far as I'm concerned, the only people that we need to be curmudgeonly with are not the people who are giving out the candy, but the people who refuse to because they think this is anti-Christian. They need to come and have a conversation with me because they just don't know what they're missing. So for all of you who are getting ready for Halloween, if you haven't, or if you weren't planning on giving out candy, go out to your local store and pick up some candy this weekend. Pick up some cool stuff. Don't just get the cheap stuff, but go for it. Get that stuff that you would like when you were a kid. And get lots of it, because it's better to give 2 pieces of candy to a child because there's not that many coming than to be, miserly and only give out 1 per kid and end up with a pile left over. And if you're really smart, what you do is you buy an extra bag of what you like and you keep it at home for yourself after. Just between us. I really like the little Mars and Snickers bars personally. Anyway, but go out this weekend. If you have to make costumes for your kids, just make sure they're safe and that they're warm, depending on where you live. But make sure that you set some time aside to be community minded. And remember, these kids are kids. They will begin to develop who they are as adults by the way we treat them when, as adults, we interact with them. So you go out and show them that adults can be fun and polite and kind and generous. And have a great weekend preparing for Halloween. And I will see you again on Halloween on Monday. And I'll also be here for Gospel on the Go on Sunday. Have a great weekend, and God bless you.